Oh, hi. Man, I just love that countdown music. I just get all super excited. It's just like pumped up for a football game or something like that. Hey, Amazers, welcome to day 10, 1/3 of the way through. You've made it 33 and 33%, 33 and a third percent of the way, all the way through 30 days to Amaze. So if you've made it this far and you haven't crapped out yet, you must be doing something right. So congratulations on that. Before we get going on today, I want to give you a little heads up. Tomorrow is kind of a special day because I'm going to be interviewing a very special guest, and there's going to be an email that goes out in pretty soon. Maybe it already went out. I have to double check on that. But anyway, it's going out today, and it's going to introduce this person. But I'll tell you, this is one of the rock stars in the primal health coach community that I'm a part of, and also just a world-renowned author and speaker. Elle Russ is her name, and if you don't know her, she is one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. And so we're going to be talking about all things health-wise tomorrow. So the subject tomorrow is on sleep, so we'll focus a little bit on that. But if you have any questions that maybe you want to ask an expert, Elle will be more than equipped to deal with those. So if you respond to the email, just give us whatever question you have, whether it's sleep related or whether it's anything. She's a master at thyroid health. So if you have any thyroid problems or know anyone with thyroid issues, this would be a great way to get some questions answered. Anytime I hear someone dealing with thyroid that I'm know or am part of, that I'm like, yeah, you got to read Elle's book. And I send them to Elle. She knows more about this stuff than anybody I've ever come across. So anyway, it's going to be an awesome chit chat with her tomorrow. So again, don't be bashful. If you have any questions, just send them my way, put them in our Facebook group, and I will make sure that she gets to them. So she's excited to meet all of you and be on here tomorrow. So that's exciting. Okay, today we're talking about drinks. Beverages. This is actually one of my favorite topics. So I think it's going to be kind of a fun day. I'm going to kind of go through the email and talk about a couple of the beverage choices, questions that come up all the time. We haven't really talked about beverages a lot. We've talked about food mostly for the first 10 days with a couple of days on exercise so far. But yeah, this beverages is part of our food supply. Sometimes we don't think about that. And sometimes if we're starting a food journal, we're probably not even thinking about like drinks. But if it's anything other than water, that is a way of sneaking up on you. And a lot of people can kind of get into trouble with this. And not just for weight gain and body composition goals, but just to kind of be wrecking their health. They're doing all the quote unquote right things, but maybe not really thinking about their beverage choices. So that's what today is all about. So the first one we're going to deal with is coffee, and all of kind of the short answer and long answer. So all these beverages. Is this okay? Is this good? Is this bad? Remember, we talked about changing the food language. So again, we'll think, hey, is this like a supportive drink? Is this a non-supportive drink? Is there any gray area in the midst of that? And so that's what we'll be talking about with beverages. So anyway, coffee. Let's talk about that for the first one. Maybe you're a coffee drinker, maybe you're not, but a lot of us in this country are. I happen to be a coffee drinker. So I'm probably in the majority here. And is coffee supportive or not? And it's like, there's a lot of nuance with that. It all kind of depends. And I kind of gave you some questions just to ask about coffee. By the way, I was on this podcast not too long ago, and I was talking about, hey, here's like the unholy trinity of foods, the three things you want to stay away from and avoid. And the podcast host, she's like, please don't say it's coffee. Please don't say it's coffee. I thought that was kind of funny because when I got to it, I'm like, coffee was not on the unholy trinity of foods to avoid. But, so many people think, I can't do without coffee. And someone told me coffee was unhealthy for me, so I should probably stay away from it. And, there could be some health issues related to over coffee consumption, or more importantly, what you're putting in your coffee. But for the most part, black coffee is on the approved foods, the approved drink list. So I would say keep caffeine it up. It's probably my favorite drug of choice, caffeine. So if you're enjoying coffee, then keep on a coffee in it if it's working well for you. But there are some kind of terrifying questions to ask around coffee consumption. So, the couple ones that I came up with, like, are you really enjoying it? I mean, do you really enjoy the ritual of a morning cup of coffee? I'll tell you my morning cup of coffee ritual. I have a pot of coffee that I grind up the beans the night before, and I stick them in my Mr. Coffee pot, and I put some filtered water in there, and it goes off at 4 in the morning, and I'm usually awake at like 4:30, so that's like the first thing I do in the morning. I roll down out of bed and I fill up my thermos, and I just kind of start my morning with a little bit of caffeine and some drugs. And, well, caffeine is the drug, but you know what I'm saying. So I was starting off with some coffee and just kind of letting the morning sort of wind up very gradually. And I love starting my day with that. But here's the thing. I don't wake up out of bed groggy and just like, I gotta have my coffee. It's not like that. It's something that I just kind of enjoy the ritual of. And yeah, the caffeine kind of does give you a jolt and wake you up. But other than the headaches that I would get if I didn't have it for about 2 days of headaches, if I withdraw from that, yeah, I don't like need it for like functioning. Hopefully sleep is doing that for me. Then hopefully good sleep is doing that for you, so you don't just need it. So that's a terrifying question to ask. Like, do I need it, or do I need to have coffee going all day long? Do I need a pot in the morning, and do I need some caffeine hits during the morning hours? And then I'm falling asleep at 3 at my desk. Do I need more caffeine? And then do I need some coffee at night? I know people that drink like coffee like throughout all day, like 20 cups of coffee throughout the day, and that's probably not what you want. Okay. Do I drink a few cups or a gallon of it in the morning? I mean, you just got to slam down, pots of coffee, or is it just like, can you have like a cup or two and feel like you can function throughout the day? How late in the day are you drinking it? So if you're doing it really super, super late, that might tell you something. And the biggest one of all, what am I putting in it? Okay, so a lot of people in the health world, there's maybe you heard of bulletproof coffee. And that's, by the way, I love bulletproof coffee. I love bulletproof coffee recipes, and I love the actual tasting. It's a great high quality coffee, and I highly recommend it. But a lot of times when people are trying to go keto or trying to lose weight, or they have body composition goals, or thinking, hey, I read somewhere that putting butter in your coffee is like really good for you and good for fat burning and stuff like that. And so all you're doing is adding calories to your morning coffee, and I don't like it for a couple reasons. But the biggest one is that it kind of screws up the first 2 rules, right? When we go back to rule number 1, to always answer the call of hunger with a meal. So if you're waking up hungry, what I don't want you to do is slam 200 calories worth of like butter in your coffee. So that's kind of messing up that, and it's also messing up the funnel, right? It's not prioritizing proteins, for instance. So it's kind of screwing up your funnel, where you're kind of front loading the start of your day with a buttery coffee or a heavy creamed coffee or something like that. So I would say drink your coffee black. And maybe I've lost you right there. Like, ew, gross, black coffee. I mean, I used to have coffee every morning, but I could not drink it unless it had Coffee Mate French vanilla in it. They come to find out later that those are really kind of made out of like Vaseline and petroleum products and stuff like that. There's no dairy in Coffee Mate, by the way. There's nothing, no milk products or anything like that. But aside from that, not having chemicals in my coffee, I just thought the taste of it was so terrible. But I have a friend who said it like this: like, if you can't drink your coffee black, your coffee sucks. You need much better coffee. And so I would challenge you during the rest of this 30 Days to Amaze, if you're a coffee drinker and you can't have your coffee without a bunch of additives in it, I would say, hey, try it black. And if it sucks, it's probably because you're drinking Maxwell House or Folgers or Keurigs. I used to think Keurigs were the coolest thing ever. Now I think they suck. I can't stand Keurig coffee. By the way, if you're a Keuriger, I didn't mean to slam you, but it doesn't do it for me anymore. I've got to have high quality organic beans that taste awesome, and I've experimented with a lot of different ones, and I spend a lot of money on coffee too. Not tons amount, but I'll go and get some really like snooty, coffee from Whole Foods or from my local grocery store that's organic and as much mold free as I can possibly get, and just something that I trust and love the taste of. And guess what? I've learned to love it, and I would never doctor one of those amazing black coffees up with some petroleum products. Okay, so yeah, try black coffee. Give it a shot. All right, let's talk about the other kind of coffees, not just adding fat to your coffee willy-nilly, but the fancy coffees, right? When you pull up to the Buc-ee's and you grab your $5.78 cup of mocha frappuccinos and things like that. What I would say is like, oh, there is some coffee in there, but you're not really drinking coffee. You're pretty much drinking dessert. If you're getting one of those tall things for $6, remember yesterday we talked about food costs? $6 you could have a steak. A grass-fed ribeye steak for $6 on sale instead of a extra venti. They even call it extra venti. See, I can't even order at Starbucks anymore. But if you're getting one of these big old fancy coffees with, frappuccinos and things like that, it's like 22 teaspoons of sugar in one of those things that you're having dessert for breakfast. And this is why you're crashing and burning. This is why another reason why you're probably getting bloated and a lot of fat gain that's unneeded. And you don't really think about it in terms of like coffee drinks, but that is a way of really sneaking itself in there. And again, if you go to Starbucks and you tell your barista to give me a plain water, but if you could add 22 teaspoons of sugar in there, and that person has to count out 22 teaspoons of sugar, 22, 1, 2, 3, until they get to 22 and they stop. I mean, everyone in line is going to think that you've got a major addiction. You've got a major sugar problem. But people are in Starbucks lines ordering these fancy coffee drinks with 22 teaspoons of sugar every day, and no one thinks anything of it, right? And so we need to think better of that. We need to examine what's inside of those things, not only just a high sugar dosage, but probably a non-organic sprayed GMO kind of coffee bean with all sorts of pesticides and crap in it. Monsanto, Roundup, you don't need any of that stuff going in through you. So I would say stay away from those things, and guess what? Think of all the money you'll save at the very least. So coffees, the fancy coffees, not a good idea. I should say not a supportive idea. Very harmful for you, that. Back to coffee. Josh says, I'm doing collagen and MCT oil today. Maybe Josh could tell us a little bit more about what MCT oil is. I think it's called something medium chain. I can't remember what the T stands for. I was going to say triglycerides, but that's not it. But I think it's the fatty acids in like coconut, for instance. So MCT oil is a really good fat you can put in coffee. You might have some stomach problems with it. Sometimes it can irritate people's stomach, but you can kind of get used to it. But Bulletproof sells something called brain octane oil, and that's really a good additive to add to your coffee, and it can really supercharge that. And adding some collagen. If you're not, collagen's a great supplement. I only take about one supplement other than vitamins. I take a couple vitamins. I'll talk about supplements later, but the only supplement that I use is like collagen fuel. Primal Kitchen makes my favorite one, but there's a lot of different ones, like Vital Proteins makes an awesome one. But you can add collagen fuel to kind of make it creamy and thick, and you're getting some extra joint and marrow and bone support with that. And so, yeah, collagen and MCT oil is awesome. So it is triglycerides, huh? All right, I thought I had it right. So for some reason I was thinking like triglycerides are bad. We don't have those high in our blood, but medium chain triglycerides in MCT oil, coconut oil is pretty fantastic. All right, hey, let's talk about soda. All right, hopefully you learned from day one that soda and sugary drinks are like the number one thing you can do. Dr. Rhonda Patrick says that the easiest, simplest thing you can do, maybe not easiest because you might have cravings for this, but if you're trying to make some strides in your health journey, the first thing you can do, that's the simplest thing you can do, is get rid of sodas, get rid of sugary drinks in your diet, because that is the fastest way to weight gain and body fat gain. That is the fastest way to just tack on extra pounds and to tack on inflammation. So stay away from those at all costs. Okay, but a lot of people know that. I didn't know that. I used to think the worst thing about sugary foods and sodas, for instance, like, it's probably not really good for my teeth. It's not really good for my kids' teeth, so I should probably limit that so they don't get cavities. But I had no idea the damage that it was doing all throughout my body, my digestive system, all that kind of stuff. And so I never was real much of a diet cola drinker or a diet soda drinker. Just didn't really like the taste. But a lot of people kind of think, okay, they learn that, hey, drinking Coke and Pepsi and Mountain Dew and all those kinds of things are not so hot for me. So I'll drink diet sodas. So you got to watch that. I don't think it's a good idea health-wise for a lot of different reasons. There's some compelling evidence that shows that when you have a Coke Zero with like sucralose or NutraSweet or one of these high sugar kind of alcohols or sugar additives, while you're not really putting sugar in your system, you have done decades or years of training your body to, like, when your mouth touches and tastes sweet things, that it will produce an insulin response to deal with that. So a lot of people will drink a diet soda, think they're doing their body a big old favor, but they're still producing insulin. And I think Dr. Hyman talked about it like this way. He's like, you're just kind of tricking your body into thinking that sugar's on the way. You know, you've done it enough where, hey, sugar's coming down the pike, so your body doesn't really know the difference. And I would just say it like this. I mean, think about the healthiest people you know, and I would ask, are they big diet soda drinkers? Are they slamming down Coke Zeros and Diet Pepsis and those kinds of things during the day? I mean, most of them are. The most people that I know of that are drinking diet sodas are struggling with weight, struggling with health issues. It's just not a good idea. There's a lot of also compelling evidence to suggest that NutraSweet, what is the name for that now? I can't even think. It's escaping me. Josh, help me out. What's NutraSweet called? Aspartame, that's it. Josh, you don't have to write that down. Aspartame is, there's the jury's still out on whether that's harmful for us, but I've seen enough evidence to say that's probably something you should stay away from. Aspartame is something that can cause memory loss. I think United pilots are not allowed to drink aspartame. I just find that kind of interesting. They got to be at their highest brain power, and there's a lot of studies that show that NutraSweet really screws all that up. But it's a chemical that you do not need in your body. So I would say stay away from diet sodas. Not a fan of those at all. Let's talk about alcohol. Ugh, man, is Chris going to take away my booze? I don't know if I want to stay for this. So short answer, alcohol I think is a lousy drug. It's a terrible drug, and I have some alcohol in my pantry right now. So this is not a, shaking, wagging the finger at you or anything like that. So I do tend to imbibe every now and then. Here's what I like about alcohol. It's a great social lubricant. There's nothing like a good beer buzz. It just kind of loosens, greases the joints while you're consuming it. And so I kind of understand the social appeal of drinking alcohol and the feel-good drug that alcohol can make you feel in the short run. But it's a lousy drug for this because I feel like it takes away so much more than it gives. So for instance, I think I told you a couple days ago, I had one shot of whiskey and bourbon before I went to bed, just one shot, and my sleep was off. I don't know if it was because of that, but I've done this enough to know that, yeah, one drink at nighttime, it will kind of conk me out. That's the thing, so many people, including me, is like, oh, I just need a couple drinks at the end of the day to kind of wind down. It always helps me sleep. Yeah, it does. Alcohol will actually help you go to sleep. So if you have going to sleep problems, alcohol will help that. But alcohol is terrible for the staying asleep problem. So if you have staying asleep issues, alcohol is the worst way to stay asleep. And you know this as well too, experientially, is that when you drink a lot of alcohol, or maybe even some alcohol in some cases for you, when you drink alcohol, it's not really good sleep. It might kind of knock you out, but you're not getting like that restful sleep. It's pretty much just kind of being unconscious. And I'm not saying you drink till you're unconscious, but you know what I'm saying? Like when you just kind of get that like buzz and you get that little wind down and you fall asleep, your head hits the pillow. You're not just like, having the most restful sleep possible. As evidenced by the fact when you wake up, you probably feel terrible. Like I said, if I have 2 drinks now, drinking's been ruined for me. I don't know what happened to my body, but I think I've just been so upregulated that if I have 2 drinks now, it wrecks me for the next day until about 1 o'clock. I feel so lousy. I have terrible sleep. I'm just not myself until about 1. And even after that, then I'm making up for lost time. So for me, alcohol is such a cruddy drug, and I try to avoid it at all costs. And it's not because I've put down my cravings so much for it. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you what has helped with that. But, with cravings, with any other cravings, like if you replace it with something that's so much better, it kind of sometimes can take cravings away. So alcohol is, I understand the pull and the lure of it. And I would say kind of like coffee, you just better ask some questions of yourself so it doesn't become something that takes mastery over you. One of my favorite pastors, he's quoted as saying, this is something I'll just never forget. He's like, I've never heard anyone say or come into my office and say, you know what, my life was in the toilet. My job, I got laid off, couldn't find work. My wife was estranged from me. My kids hate me. They don't want to even talk to me. I'm financially ruined. Everything is going to pot. And then I started drinking alcohol and everything changed for me. Like we've never heard that story before. Obviously, we've heard the other stories, and I'm sure many of us, all of us, know of or have experienced this firsthand of wrecking our lives with alcohol. And I'm not going on a drug crusade here, but isn't it interesting how some drugs are absolutely illegal and there's some stigma attached to them that are a lot less harmful than the socially acceptable drug of alcohol? I mean, all of us in all of our states can go to a local store and just pick up as much of that drug as possible, but some others, it's like those are taboo, and I'm not sure if legalizing everything is such a good idea. I'm going off the rails on this, but it's good to examine. Hey, am I drinking alcohol because I really, really love it? How much is too much? Is it wrecking my sleep? Is it causing me to be less productive? Speaking of, I put a link in today's email of a podcast, and this is one of my favorite podcasts I've ever listened to by James Swanwick. Have you ever seen those Swanee blue blocker glasses? He's the CEO of that company. He talks in a really cool Australian accent, so he's kind of disarming. But the title of this podcast is The Surprising Ways That Alcohol is Ruining Your Life. And so maybe you'll be put off by that title. I was put on by that title. I couldn't wait to hear what he had to say, like the surprising ways that alcohol is ruining your life. And I think you'll really enjoy it. It will give you some things to think about where you'll probably not look at alcohol ever the same way again. And he does it in a very disarming way. And I really encourage you to listen to that. By the way, I'll give you 5 points if you listen to it and you post about it. Say, hey, this is something I learned in that podcast. So 5 points, and you'll benefit from it in other ways. All right. Anything else about booze? Also, the dietdoctor.com, or it might just be dietdoctor.com. That's something you can put in your search engine, kids. But one of the things I love about the dietdoctor.com is there are some visual guides, and the dietdoctor.com has some visual guides for all sorts of foods, but also when it comes to alcohol. And we've kind of talked about carb loading and keeping our carbs down to where we're de-emphasizing those. If you want to continue drinking and keeping your carbs at a minimal level is something that you still want to do, the Diet Doctor's visual guides to alcohol will really be helpful for you. So you go on dietdoctor.com, you look up the visual guides on alcohol, and you will see a picture of from one spectrum to the other. Like here are like the highest carb kinds of drinks. Here are maybe the lowest ones. And so you can kind of make some choices in line with like, okay, I still want to maybe partake and imbibe and hang out with my friends and get blasted, but I still don't want to like wreck all of my health goals. And so that's maybe a good visual guide that can help you and steer you right. Something about mixed drinks really quickly. There's some compelling evidence to suggest that when you are consuming alcohol, it's the first to burn category. So your body senses that alcohol is a poison. It's nothing but a poison, okay? Our bodies can handle a little bit of poison, but let's say you drink some alcohol. Your body is going to want to metabolize and get rid of that alcohol first and foremost. So let's say you're drinking a screwdriver. So you got some orange juice and some vodka. That's what a screwdriver is, right? Help me out here. Never mind. You don't have to help me out. Don't admit that. You know what that is. But whatever mixed drink it is, okay? So you're having a sugary, sweetened beverage with some alcohol in that. So the concept is like that might be the worst possible thing for fat gain because you're having this sugary drink and your body is going to use most of its available resources and energy to metabolize that alcohol, which is going to leave a lot less over to metabolize that sugary drink you just had. So I would say a great way to gain some extra stored body fat and pounds on your body is to drink a lot of mixed drinks, a lot of those sugary beverages, Jack and Coke, right? Things like that. So probably a good idea to stay away from those. All right, let's finish with water, because water is where it's at, right? I'm a water fan. Think water's great. There's a there's a lot of health folk like me who say how much water you should drink. And I was on this for a while. I think I read somewhere years ago that you should drink a gallon of water a day at a minimum. So I would walk around with my gallon of water. I only did that for about 3 weeks or so because I almost peed myself in the car a couple times. And I'm not joking. I actually almost had an accident where that has been the closest I've ever been as an adult to wetting myself. So that was not a good situation. But the more I think about this now, it's like, I don't think we need to micromanage our water. Now, there are some people that think that most of us are chronically dehydrated, and if that's an issue for you, maybe. But I kind of think that God, nature, has given us an elegant system that we're able to manage our thirst and our water intake by our mechanism of thirst. Okay, I believe that I have a thirst engine that will cue me to say when I need to take in more water. So maybe you get off on measuring and micromanaging the ounces of water to your body weight and all that kind of stuff. And maybe you've done that and you've had great health results. So I'm not here to knock that. But for me, and for most of the people that I work with, it's like, hey, let's just pay attention, kind of the same way that we intuitively are learning how to pay attention to a food, the effect of food and what that does for us. Pay attention to your drinks as well, and pay attention to how much water you need. There's a Adam Ruins Everything little video clip in the email as well. Check that out, because that's not a health guy per se, but I think that he has some super compelling video evidence and some experts on there that talk about how much hydration do you need. Are we all dehydrated? We've heard that for so long. Drink your water. Like, that's like the best health tip someone could give you, because it flushes out the toxins, dude. I'm not sure it does or not. But having said all that, I'm a super fan of water. But water, I just get bored with it. I really do. I get bored with drinking water all the time. So here's what I do. By the way, this might be the best thing you're going to learn in 30 Days to Amaze, is this little demonstration right here. So I get bored of drinking water, but I drink about, this is only like 1 liter, but I drink probably like 3 liters of a version of this kind of water a day. So this is a cold bottle of filtered water. I've got a Berkey filter. Berkey is a awesome water filter. It's a charcoal and fluoride filter. It filters out all kind of the bad stuff of the city water if you don't live next to some natural spring or something like that. Most of us probably don't. But what I do is I fill up that water and I stick it in. I get it really nice and cold. So I'm drinking cold water throughout the day. Some quality H2O. But I get real bored with that. Water is just boring. Who wants to have water at every single meal? And maybe you do. I don't. I think just plain old water sucks. First world problem. So what I do is I squeeze out the air and I put this little cap on top. And why do I put this little cap on top? Because what I do is I hook it up to this system right here. All right, let me pull this out. 2020 was a crappy year for a lot of us. But the 2 best things that happened to me in 2021 is that I got a dog, and the second best thing was I got this. And I'm not kidding. This was the second best thing that happened to me in 2020. Let me see if I can move this down. This is what it is right here. This is a CO2 tank, and it's I think it's like about 5 pounds of CO2. And then I got this little thing on like eBay. I can't remember what they call that, regulator, some kind of gas regulator or something like that. It's got a little nozzle here and a little flip valve right here, and I hooked it up to this little hose and this little nozzle right here. So this little nozzle goes on this thing right here. All right, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the CO2 gas. I'm going to hit this little knob, and then you're going to see the magic happen. See that? Bubbles, bubbles. Then I'm going to shake this for about 30 seconds. So, if you haven't guessed, this is carbonated water. And I make 3 liters and drink 3 liters carbonated water a day. I'm only drinking 3 liters, not because there's some metric that says I have to drink 3 liters, but that's just kind of how much water I drink. I've kind of measured it out. And I usually drink about 3 of these suckers. And so, it's my favorite thing to drink. Now, I also, when I'm feeling fancy, I'll flavor it with some stevia drops. And again, I'm not a big artificial sweetener kind of thing, but this is actually natural sweetener. Again, I don't want to overdo this on sweeteners because I don't want to trick my body to thinking that sugar's on the way and I don't want to produce insulin by drinking this. But once in a while, a couple of drops of stevia, sweet drops, cola, will make this into a Coke or a Pepsi. I've got a root beer one. So sometimes I'll mix this with some coconut ice cream that I make, a root beer float. I've got orange, if you ever want to have like an orange soda. I've got vanilla cream, which is pretty good by itself, or mix it with a Coke, and now I've got vanilla Coke. Remember that back in the day? Grape soda, because, sometimes I want to drink like a 3-year-old, having some grape soda. So that's it for that. So I'll turn that off. This investment cost me, I think it was like $125, but then I filled this thing up at my local oxygen depot, and it cost like $25. But this lasts 3 months for 2 people. So my wife and I, we drink this stuff for 3 months long. And so you can think of all the money we save. Oh, by the way, here's the best part coming up. Okay, listen. This is going to be worth the whole 30 Days to Amaze. And you tuning in today. Whew. Can you hear that? It's like champagne now. So it's pretty cool. I know this is where this comes from. This is like coming from a filtered water source. And then I'll pour it into these little bottles right here. By the way, years ago for Christmas, my wife and I, we got our 2 boys a soda stream. Maybe you've seen those before. And so they came with like these little canisters where you could make little carbonated beverages at home. We were drinking nothing but natural sodas with natural cane sugar, so it wasn't much better. But that little canister ran out, and we probably did this like 10 years ago. And that canister ran out so quickly, and 10 years ago, maybe it's different now, but I couldn't find a place to replace it. I could not find, I had to go buy like another one. So we did like 2 of those canisters, and that was the end of our SodaStream days. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to make carbonated water at home, and I found how to do it. So if you're interested in making a $125 investment into delicious carbonated water, I drink this stuff all day long, and it's so good. It's so refreshing. I've tried to research if there's anything wrong with carbonation, and I've done a lot of research on that. I haven't found anything yet. So if you know if I'm going to kill myself drinking too much carbonation, the only thing I'll get is a burp or something like that. I've heard that a lot of carbonation or too much carbonation can cause digestive issues, but I've never had a problem with it. Or it can cause, bones to rot. But I think those studies have never been done on just carbonated, plain, filtered, awesome water. It's usually people that are saying, oh, sodas, are carbonated, and people are drinking those and they're depleting the calcium in their bones. So I haven't seen any studies done on just this stuff. Maybe I'll be a case subject for one of those studies. But yeah, if you come across anything to think if I'm killing myself, even if I knew that this was taking maybe a year off my life, I might still do it anyway. It's that much of enjoyment, because you know what? It has taken away all of my cravings for beer. I kid you not. I didn't try to stop drinking beer, but I drink this now, and I'm like, man, this is refreshing, and it's bubbly, and I don't really like beer anymore because of that. So that's a cool thing. I don't drink kombucha anymore. That's one of my favorite drinks. I absolutely love kombucha, but I like this stuff better. And when I'm drinking GT's kombucha for like $3 a pop for one of those things, by the way, a 2 liter of water that I make comes out to 3 to 4 cents. I did the math on this. So you can imagine the kind of money that I'm saving. And also, I'm not wasting a bunch of cans. So we used to go get like a $2.50 purchase of 12 cans of this stuff. And that's a good option too. But now I know where the water's coming from. It's like been filtered by me. And I can drink this all day long. And it's so cheap. 2 to 4 cents per 2 liter. So I just kind of wanted to show you that. Maybe that would inspire you to do that. Maybe you hate carbonated water. It's no big deal. But again, just to really kind of look at our beverages. I want you to enjoy your beverages, but also just know that there's not kind of a free pass when it comes to, this is why tracking food and throwing beverages in there can really give you a great picture of what's going on. All right, so let me go to the Facebook comments, see if there's anything I need to talk about. And so, Josh, that's a big no for you. I wonder what that was, what you were talking about. Oh, I think we were talking about MCT oil. Let's say it bypasses digestion because it's absorbable, but that's also why it can cause gut upset with too much. All right, that's good to know. Hey, Josh, like me, found that including non-soda carbonated drinks reduced my cravings for beer. So that's super, super good. Kevin had a tough time kicking sodas. By the way, man, don't we all? You know, if you've, I've worked. I just had a client that I just graduated, and that was like his biggest Achilles heel. I was like, you know, you're drinking sodas for 20 years, and it's so much a part of your the ritual. We talked about the ritual of drinking coffee. This got a ritual of going to a Circle K every single morning, and we're just like soda machines. Remember when we were kids and we went to a fast food place? You actually had to like. There weren't enough soda machines where you could just go and get like as much refills as you want, and now they're like everywhere, right? So it's just so much a part of our culture, just having sodas. I mean, the halftime, thing with the weekend was sponsored by like Pepsi, so it's all over. You can't escape it. I think even LeBron James drinks Mountain Dew for his fitness regimen, right? Or maybe it's Gatorade. I don't know. Anyway, drinking Zevia or Zephyr Hill sparkling water made the switch a lot easier. My brain told my body all carbonated drinks were soda. The waters were a great substitute without any of the harmful ingredients. Yeah, Zephyr Hill sparkling water. I'm not sure if I've had that. I read Zevia, by the way, on there. I don't know if you've heard of Zevia before. That's not what Kevin was talking about. But Zevia is a stevia sweetened beverage. They're pretty expensive, but they're good every now and then for a little treat. So if you don't want to make your own root beer at home, you can get a 6-pack of Zevia root beer. They have colas. They've got all sorts of different kinds of drinks, and those are really awesome. Especially if you like mixed drinks and you have a hard time giving up like the Jack and Coke, get a Jack and Zevia, and I think that'll be a lot better choice for you. So Kevin's coming up on 4 years sobriety. Dude, that is incredible, man. Congratulations on that. So I'm sure you'd have stories to tell, and I'm sure probably looking and feeling better than you ever have being 4 years sober. So that is great. Super, super good. Oh, by the way, speaking of sobriety and back to drinks again, as a mindfulness activity for the last 2 Novembers, and I'm going to continue to do this every November, I ditch coffee for a whole month. And again, there's nothing wrong with coffee in my life, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I got to rein it in a little bit. And so I know that I'm addicted to caffeine, and I don't want to be mastered by anything. I don't want to ever get to the point where, again, I need my morning coffee. So I'm going to do a mindfulness activity and ditch it for a month. And it's hard, man. It's hard, especially those first couple of days where I'm like headachy and not feeling really good. And I'm drinking like green tea or some kind of, fruity celestial seasonings girly tea. Blech. Tastes like just some grass, or someone strawberry burp into my drink. Anyway, so it's a long month, but I guess it's a good time to just kind of reset, to kind of flush my system of caffeine. And there's nothing like the December 1st cup of coffee. Oh my gosh, tastes so freaking good. But whether that's a month of sobriety or 4 years of that, sometimes it's just good to just kind of do these like resets. So, maybe you need to ditch alcohol for a month. We did that also in our group. We had a sober September in our group, or maybe you do a sober October. Maybe it's just a really good indication or a good time frame to say, I'm going to take a month and I'm going to just go without alcohol. See if I can do without it for a month. And if I can't do without it for 1 month, that ought to tell you something about just the hold and the mastery that alcohol or any kind of drink or beverage or food or drug or anything like that can have on you. So a month is kind of a great time to get that out, to see what kind of hold it has over you, and to reset and maybe replace it with some other things. Michael says, I've heard we should drink room temperature water, especially during workouts. I don't know anything about that. So let me research that and see if because I think I've heard that before too. Like, cold water is like bad. Sometimes I always kind of go to like nature. I think of like, hey, if there was like a deer like running through the woods or a horse, that's coming to the end of his long journey across the plains and they came upon a glacier runoff creek, where they'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I should drink this cold water because it's not room temperature. So again, I'm not using science. I'm just kind of going sort of like intuitively, like, hey, does cold water like not make you feel good during a workout, or does room temperature water make you feel better? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if there's any science behind it. There might be. I haven't run across it, but I'll see what I can find out about that. But I would say it's probably negligible. It's probably not going to make one difference one way or the other, but could be wrong about that. Yeah, that's right. No more wimpy soda stream. No, big time for me. Actually, the 5 pound bottle, I'm thinking about getting like a larger one that will last for 6 months, but this one's pretty easy to carry. So maybe I should get a larger one. I've actually experimented with like, what if I got like the tank and the actual like stream where I could just like, use a cup to do it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to shake it for a minute at a time, but it's worth it. I enjoy making it myself, I guess. It's really easy to make kombucha too, huh, Josh? I tried my hand at kombucha. I was not really successful. I shouldn't give up after one try. I actually did it twice. I made it once, and the first time it was awesome, but in order to get it awesome, it took like 3 months to ferment to the way I wanted it. And the second time, I just made a moldy mess. So maybe you could show me how to make kombucha. I don't know if you guys like kombucha, and if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. I found that most people, I think everyone's in I hate this kombucha stuff. It smells like feet, or kombucha is the best thing I've ever tried in my life. And there's like really no in between. People actually either love it, or hate it, hate it, hate it. It seems to be the MO for most people. Is it more fizzy than the Soda Stream? It sure can be. I remember the Soda Stream, you could get it like extra fizzy and stuff like that. But if I use this for 30 seconds and shake it, it gets really fizzy. If I do it for a minute, it gets champagne fizzy. So yeah, you can kind of control the fizziness with it, which is pretty neat. Diet drinks aren't consumed by healthy people usually. That is so true, Josh. Josh says, I think the cold water idea comes from, I should know how to pronounce that. Anyway, help me out. Some kind of medicine. So yeah, if you find anything else on that, Josh, yeah, post it and let us know. By the way, I told you we're interviewing L. Russ tomorrow. Josh is going to be one of our interviewees. I'm going to see if I can get him on next week. So you're going to love hearing from Josh. This guy is a wealth of information and just overall good dude. All right, let me hit YouTube, see if there's anything. I think that's it for the Facebook comments and questions. All right, man. Congratulations on making it to day 10. 33.33% of the way through this. So again, if you have any questions, hit me up. And if you have any questions for Elle tomorrow, hit me up with that and I'll make sure I get them to her. Don't want to miss tomorrow. You're going to love it. All right. Have a